our husband so want us to be happy, right? That's how they measure their success. When you're happy, they feel like, I'm a good man. I'm a good husband. My wife is happy. When we're miserable, they feel like failure. And like we said before, they throw in the towel because I guess I'm just not good at this.
Hey, housewives, come on in. You know the dirty dishes are still in the sink from yesterday and the laundry is still in the basket. Pop your AirPods in and make yourself at home here.
I'm Tracy.
I'm Tori.
And we are your Unlikely Housewives. Stepping out in faith and believing that God calls the unlikely, we are here to show you the appreciation and validation you deserve, lead you to authentic relationships, and release you of believing the cultural lies to restore your faith and wellness.
Pull up those high-waisted yoga pants, tighten your top knot, and reheat your coffee for the third time. Turn up the volume, and let's go. Hey, housewives.
Hey.
Oh, man. This one was like, it was the knock on the head that I needed.
This was the eye opener too.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've done one on marriage.
Yes.
So definitely you guys are going to see and hear just a woman who's so passionate about marriage and being intentional about it.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that we get so complacent in, right?
Well, and I think it's not just the intentional complacency that is like, that it's the in-depth, like working on your marriage at all times, whether it's 2 years in, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, it is we just become habitual humans where we're roommates and we're parents and we're, every now and then we'll go out for a nice dinner, but are you really like having fun and in love and being intimate and all the things with your spouse?
Yeah. And just the visual of being magnetic versus repellent.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was so good with Cristie. And we've got kids, we're middle school now, and you've got one who's last year of high school all the way down to elementary. And like, you have to, obviously, you've got 4, I've got 2, and a majority of our time is spent doing the things with the kids, for the kids.
Yep. In a car,
getting one to one activity, the other to another.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then our husbands come last, they get what's left of us at the end of the day so often. But we forget that eventually, I know this is going to bring you to tears closer than me, but eventually the house will be empty and we're just going to be stuck with them.
Yep.
Which is what God intended, of course, and
there's so much excitement in that season too of, oh my gosh, we're finally empty nesters. We did the work. We raised these incredible kids. We want to be able to follow them, go to their things and, be happy with our grandchildren. But if we're not happy, then what was it all for? What was it for? Exactly. And I think Cristie did an amazing job giving our listeners a glimpse. We've obviously talked to her a couple times and I've logged on and subscribed to some of her freebies on our website. And because I'm always reading and learning about, marriage and parenting and all the things, but what she teaches, she's certified in, but it's also, marriage is what we focus on, but it's also on relationships and it can help every relationship, that you're involved in. And so we just encourage you to listen in, check out our Facebook group and just be encouraged.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is for the one who wants to save their marriage.
Enjoy.
Hey, housewife.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back. We have a phenomenal episode for you in our series, You Are Not Alone, for the one who, and this one is going to resonate, y'all. And I can tell you that because I know that I need it. So, as Tracy and I always lovingly joke that we book these guests selfishly. And so hopefully with us being open and going, oh yeah, that we need this, hopefully you will find your source in it too.
Yeah.
So Tracy, will you go ahead and introduce our lovely guest?
Okay, so today we have Cristie with us. Meet Cristie Cerniglia, certified Laura Doyle relationship coach. She is a Kentucky homeschooling mama of 4 with a passion for inspiring and coaching women back into magnetic marriages. Rusty and Cristie have always had a happy marriage, but somewhere in their incredibly blessed 30 years, it all started to feel lonely and distant with more nitpicking than playing. Then she discovered Laura Doyle's simple yet incredibly effective intimacy skills. The changes to her marriage were instant and life-changing. She was so incredibly inspired that she became a coach to help other women become magnets in their marriage. Welcome, Cristie.
Thank you. That sounds so exciting.
I love me up. Let's go.
Yeah. I would like to be a magnet for my husband only.
Yes, I was going to say clarify. Well, and I love to, though, and we have to, yes, we're going to focus on marriages today, but this isn't just marriages, this is relationships. Okay, so for our listeners, tell us a little bit about you. Obviously, I introduced you from Kentucky, and you're a mama of 4, homeschooling, and I'm sure that some of them are older, correct? If you want to fill everybody in.
The homeschooling has kind of run out at this point, believe it or not. My oldest daughter's 25. She's married and has 3 kids. So I'm a Kiki now, which is the super special thing. And then we have 2 daughters in college, and our son is the youngest. He just started his sophomore year of high school yesterday.
Wow.
So we're doing all the things. Yeah.
Yes. So nice. Good. We were just, man, it goes so fast. I say that after an extremely long summer. But okay, what I find, one of the common themes that we're finding here with our guest for the You Are Not Alone series here is that so many of our guests, of the people who have become certified or are now coaching, started because they were looking for something for themselves. And they were like, I'm looking for this. And then they just went down the rabbit hole and just found something that were like, oh my gosh, this is life. This has changed everything. Mm-hmm. And either it becomes somebody like where people notice a difference and say, hey, what are you doing? I went in, or hey, can you help me? Or you just are like, oh my gosh, more people need to know about this because this is like this hidden gem. Mm-hmm. So what made you go search this information out, and what's the Laura Doyle certification?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, we had been married, let's see, it's been about 4 years now, and we're at 31. So it had been a lot of years.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yes.
I've always been passionate about marriage and family. My own parents divorced my senior year of high school out of the clear blue sky. And it was super painful. And so I went through a pretty good period where I said, I will never get married. And so it was a stretch for me when I met my husband to marry him. And the Lord really had to do a work in my life to say, I'm not asking you to trust him. I'm asking you to trust me. And so that was a big deal. And so along the way, I've read lots and lots of marriage books, lots and lots of parenting books. And I've always enjoyed working with younger moms and wives and kind of helping them along just casually through the church, right?
Right.
But when we got to a rocky place in our marriage, the books and things that I was reading and the books I was finding were not addressing the issue that I needed. And it kind of reminds me of the parenting thing, right? You read your Bible and you pray, but you really need some strategies when it comes to parenting. You want a book that tells you, do this, say this, handle this situation like this. You know, you're like, somebody tell me what.
Help.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when I found Laura Doyle's book, The Empowered Wife, that's what that was. It was practical. It was strategic. It was simple, straightforward. It felt like she was reading my mail. Okay. So I knew like that the Lord wanted me to be a respectful wife. I thought I was.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what that looked like or felt like to a man. And so she actually put it into action. Here's some things you can do that communicate respect to your husband. And so I read the book and started implementing the things that she suggested, and I saw changes right away. And they were more simple surface changes, right? But I really wanted to go deeper. Mm-hmm. So I dug in. I found out she had a coaching organization. And you guys, I spent a lot of money. I invested a lot of money into coaching because I recognized that this was the answer. Everything else I had read and tried was fine and good, but this was really what I needed. And so I asked my husband, I said, I have found a resource that I believe will help me be a more respectful, a better wife. And it cost this much money. And it was a lot. And I was, as wives and moms, we're not used to spending a whole bunch of money on ourselves. But I finally recognized that I wasn't spending on me. I was investing in our family and our future, which what could be more important, right? And you guys, when I presented it to my husband, he said, yeah, go ahead, put it on the credit card.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so first of all, like that should encourage wives everywhere. Tell your husband, you're like, I'm getting coaching to be a better wife, and especially
get it out. I have worse than I bought.
Yeah, I could that's funny because we automatically assume they're like, no, we don't need that. We'll figure it out. No, your husband is going to be like, what? A better wife out of this? And it's also obviously he changes in the process too. But I mean, when my husband and I, when we were going through tough times, it was the moment that I realized that I can only control me. But if I change me, 50% of our marriage changes. If God transforms me, 50%, it'll be 50% better. 50% better is a lot better than 0%. And a lot of times, like you said, it's all of a sudden their reactions change.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh my God, I have a different husband. And he didn't go to counseling. He didn't read the book. He didn't. So so it's very, it's hard I think as a woman, as a wife because let's be honest, most of the time we're the ones that have the free time to be in a Bible study. We're the ones that are more active in the church. We're the ones that, get our quiet time typically regularly after the kid, we drop off the kids or before school. God bless Tracy for her 5:30 mornings. That will never be me. But sometimes we get a holier than thou complex. God, I'm doing all the things. I'm praying. And we don't see our husband doing any, he's not, I'm off to my Wednesday morning Bible study for a group talk with the guys. That's not the world that they live in. And so we can kind of tend to.
Not most, I would say some.
Yes. You know what I mean?
Especially our audience is listening, that's either, there's a multitude of, age ranges and dynamics and demographics and things that are listening. And some of them, yes, surely that's not their priority. And they're coming home from stressful days and the conversations are, they just look different than most.
Well, yeah. And that's not, I'm not rating off guys in general. I'm just saying that there's a lot of emphasis on women ministries in the church rather than men.
Yes, I agree with that.
I would say part of God's design of that is the amount of effect that by looking at ourselves and by having Christ transform us, so much can happen to our husbands through us. And that's biblical.
Yeah.
So your husband doesn't have to go to a Bible study.
Yeah. Well, so many women who come to me say, well, why do I have to do everything?
Yes.
I want him to change. I have the he disease. He needs to do this. And ladies, that was so me. My husband would do more of this and less of this and change that and do that. Then we could be happy.
Yeah, I totally would nag less if he did that.
But guess what? That went on for years and there was no change. And like you said, I finally realized I have no power to change him. And so if I want things to be different, then I need to be the catalyst. I need to go first. And like you said, we call it a wife mirror. When I show up this way, he responds this way, right? But the ways that I was showing up in the past, I didn't know it, but they were actually repelling him rather than drawing him to me. And I didn't know.
Yeah.
So now I know the difference.
Yeah. Can you kind of set the scene of what life was like when this was coming up? Like where were you in your marriage? Were you homeschooling? What were the ages of your kids? Because I think some people, they just have this, well, this is the way it's going to be. This is, we just got to get through this season. And I heard one time, I think it was in a sermon, and it was like, yes, I know it was a John Tyson sermon actually. And he was like, everybody always says it's just a season. We'll get through this and then we'll worry about that. Well, guess what? In that season, your marriage can fall apart. So he said a season can make your marriage or it can break your marriage. And it's something that we can't just keep saying, well, this is a season that we're in with our kids or this. Your marriage has to be, yes, we understand there's times that you don't get to go on dates as often or, go on a vacation, but there's still intentional time of communicating and building that relationship and intimacy so that it can withstand those hard seasons. So can you just kind of set the scene of what you guys were going through?
Yeah, I agree with you so much. There are harder seasons when it comes to the ages of the kids and things like that. And the skills that I teach aren't about having more date nights. They're about the day-to-day interaction. And that's where I was going wrong. And so I can just tell you that there was a lot of complaining on my end, which I would have never said that I was a complainer. I would have said, no, I'm a super positive, happy person. I didn't recognize the complaining for what it was. And when I learned how to actually express what I wanted, then the complaining stopped. And when I realized how disrespectful my complaining was, so there are so many blind spots for me. So let's just use a dumb example. Like I would say, it's so hot in here. Well, first, that was a complaint. Second, my husband would get like defensive and peeved at me. And I'm thinking, why are you upset? I'm just complaining about the heating and air. But for him, that was his department and his domain. And basically I was saying, you stink at this. You're not doing a good job of taking care of us and the household and things like that. I'm like, really? Like that's how he was thinking of it? You know what I mean? And so now I've learned to say, I would love for it to be cooler in here. That's all I have to say. It's such simple wording, right?
You have no idea how much this is an issue. And I cannot wait for him to listen to this episode because I'm perimenopausal and honey, we do not agree on the thermostat.
I didn't say
so hard. I'm like half naked all the time in the house. I'm like, and my kids are like, Mom, put on more clothes. But no, I'm like,
strategy knowledge itself.
Hey, I just would really like if pause this episode right where it is. And then we're going to come back in 2 weeks and just have Tracy say that one line in her house and then give us
I will give you an update. By the time this releases, I'll practice it from now until then. And then in social media, I'll give an update.
Yes, because that is going to be.
I just would love
my marriage is safe.
Yeah.
I'm joking, but like seriously,
but we're not
I'm
joking.
Gonna try.
We're not joking.
That's so funny. One of my other favorite stories to tell is that we would take my car on the weekend, right, with the whole family. And so by the time, and I keep my car neat. By the time the weekend is over, there's water bottles and there's wrappers and there's French fries and there's trash. And it's not just the kids, right? It's my husband too. And so Sunday on the way home from church, I would give what I thought was a motivational speech, right? Everybody needs to get their junk out of my car. Get your stuff. I don't want to clean all this up, right? No one was motivated. No one cleaned up the car. And everyone just scattered. Have you ever had that? It's like mom's in a mood.
Oh, the time.
Yes. And I never, ever got what I wanted. But underneath my complaint was a desire, right? I would love to have a clean car. So I said that to my husband on the way home one day, rather than the whole griping, complaining, shouting. I said, I would love a clean car. My husband said, I'll take it right now to get it cleaned. He took it over and, had it vacuumed and washed and the whole thing, which I was like, oh my gosh, that worked. But here's the thing, I messed up again, but this is such a good illustration. He comes home with the clean car and I go out there to show gratitude, right? Because that's one of the skills that I teach, gratitude. I go out there and I open up the door and I go, oh, like there's something on the door. And I'm this, and oh, there's still some little crumbs in the floor and I'm picking them out. And I look up at my husband, and the look on his face was just like, are you kidding? And I realized that's not gratitude, right? That was complaining. And that what he was feeling in that moment was, are you kidding? This woman cannot be pleased.
Yeah.
I did exactly what she asked, and she's still not happy. And I'm thinking, I'm complaining, not without saying words, but complaining about the workers who did the job. But my husband is feeling disrespected and unloved because instead of saying, thank you so much, I'm nitpicking around. So luckily I realized it then, and I was like, thank you so much. That means so much to me. I really appreciate that. And I realized that I need to be pleasable, because what happens when someone cannot be pleased? Eventually you give up and you throw in the towel and you go, forget it. I'm not even going to try anymore. This woman cannot be pleased. And that's kind of where my husband was.
Interesting.
Wow.
Okay. So now obviously, I know that the biblical scriptures is like, men, love your wife as Christ loves the church. And then women, respect your husbands, because it doesn't ask us to love them, actually. It just tells us respect them. Fine details. We all know the fine print. But is that a possible reverse? Or not the biblical side, but like my husband is the way we like to define it is we have two separate standards of clean. There's Tori clean, which is here. And then there's Andrew clean, which is like every like baseboard, all the things. So like we've learned that in order to save our marriage, we have people come in the house because that they hit Andrew clean. I don't. But it's just a little compromise. But like for that, like I resonate with your husband in the aspect of, because I know my husband is a man who his love language, or one of the ways, is acts of service. So I will try to show, and I'm a words of affirmation. So all I need to hear is, thank you so much. Yeah. But it's sometimes he will respond with, oh, she did this for me, so I'm going to do this for her. When all I wanted to hear was, oh, thank you. You know what I mean? So is that something too that it can change, or it's also reversed? I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly. Tracy, am I explaining?
Well, I think all you're saying is roles reversed,
Yeah.
And there's more men, and there are men, not more men. Correct. There are men that want the emotional support and the appreciation and, those kinds of things more so on the words than a female. I mean, you can flip the husband versus wife can flip those roles, and again, that doesn't mean that. Yeah, I think what you're trying to say, Tori, is just that, hey, it could be the same on the opposite side of the marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we are the opposite of you guys. He's words of affirmation and I'm acts of service. So yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. But one of the things I talk to my clients about is it's interesting to know our love languages. And yet I want to challenge you to receive love in all the ways, right? Sometimes we blow off the love that doesn't fit our language, but don't do it. Like, during the times when I was feeling so lonely and unloved, honey, there was love everywhere. It just wasn't coming in the form that I so desperately wanted and was focused on. And shame on me, right? I was so focused on the weed in my garden that I was missing out on the flowers. And I don't ever want to do that again, right? We live in a fallen world where there will always be weed.
Yeah.
But we've got to choose our focus wisely. What we focus on increases. So if I focus on what my husband is not doing or the things he's doing that are driving me crazy, I am going to be an unhappy wife. But I can also turn my focus to all the things he does that are great. And sometimes when women are first starting out in coaching, it's the little things because they're really struggling to find something great.
Sure.
But anything your husband does that makes your life easier or happier, make a list of that and start with that gratitude, because we've got to break out of this cycle of focusing on what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And we totally agree with the love language thing. But we even did an episode previously, and I would definitely encourage our listeners, if you haven't listened to it, about the love language. Because while love languages are great and they are great help, and it's good to know, but much like you said, like the Bible doesn't say that, well, if your husband doesn't, give you words of affirmation, that he doesn't love you. Like, we think that they have to love us in the way that we want to be received, where so many times for some reason, God gives us something we don't, no, I'm going to give it to you in this package. You're not going to see it as the gift that it is. But I want you need to learn how to accept this package of that. So, no,
I am curious. I know you were kind of just saying some of those seasons that you were in. Again, does this age of your kids, did it play a part in what you guys were going through?
I think that different seasons bring different challenges for sure. So when the kids were young, it was more about, oh my gosh, I'm doing everything and I need help around here. And can't you see what needs to be done? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
When the kids got older, it was more like between us. So the issues changed, but the principles, the 6 intimacy skills that I teach work through all of the phases of marriage and the seasons. And they not only, like you said in the beginning, they not only are relationship skills for my marriage, but they're relationship skills with each one of my kids, right? With their individual personalities, for my relationship with my mom, my brother, my coworkers, my friends. Like, I am using these skills on all fronts now.
Yeah. Which is good. And the reason I asked that is because I remember we've been through, I'll be married 20 years next month. And we have been through a lot of seasons. And it's funny because we have been best friends since before we got married. We have played through 10 years of our marriage, we played sports together. Like, we would go and we would seek out intramurals. We do all kinds of things. And then we moved in kids' ages, and then it was about their sports and not as much as ours, So we've had a lot of different things. But the one thing that we always go back to is our foundation was built on like doing things together and being best friends. And so we try to just even find the littlest things that we can do together. Even playing cards, like playing games, like we just, we try. But through the seasons, we've noticed when the hardest part for both of us is when we're just not getting time together, like just to have fun and just be that individual, boyfriend and girlfriend, or, just that having fun, because that's who we are. Like, that's when we're at our best, like we're great parents. We love our kids. But when we get in these seasons, and we're in the teenager season right now. And so that is a whole nother level, because the amount of just the
hormones.
Well, and throw moms in there too. But it's also just the emotional support that needs to be there, the physical tasking of like staying up late, because their hours are different, the driving, the being in the car, the being away from each other, not being home. There's so much imbalance there. But just like you were saying earlier, the reason I was asking this is because, yes, when I was home 100% of the time with littles, it was hard, right? When he would come home, it was just like, I wanted that part of him to just embrace and have fun with. And then the kids were all like, Daddy's home, And then you hit the part where the kids are kind of, they can go have a play date. They're not as involved in sports. And then I got into a career myself and became, an entrepreneur. And so then I was pouring into that. And it's just, you go through all these seasons. And the one thing that you were talking about, though, is just the foundation. And that's just a part of what we've had some friends that have gotten divorced, and we've had lots of conversations. And it's when the foundation changes or the foundation isn't stable, let's put it that way, is when we see it fall apart. And so I do want you to continue with that, like just the pillars that you've, talk about, if you want to just give a brief highlight of what that looks like for someone to then say, yeah, my foundation is a bit off, or I'm on the right page.
I love what you said about fun being a foundation, because many couples, they lose the fun, right? They lose all that attracted them to each other in the beginning. has now gotten buried underneath the bills and the mortgage and the job and the kids and the stress, right? And so we can't even see each other anymore. Like, where's the guy I fell in love with? And he's thinking the same thing about me, right? And so I love that you're making that a priority, because fun really is a priority. And so for a lot of women, we lose it, right? We throw ourselves into being this ideal mom and wife and things like that. And we lose what brings us joy. And so one of the first things that I have to work on with most all of my clients is self-care. And especially as Christians, that's a tricky area to go into, right? Because they think it's selfish. They think that God wants us to just give and give. But even Jesus stepped away from the crowd, right? To spend time with his Father and renew and refresh. And we need to do that too. Not in a selfish kind of, people think self-care means $1,000 spa day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what fuels you. Do you like to go for a walk and listen to a podcast? Do you like to take a bubble bath? Do you like to read mystery novels? Whatever you enjoy. But make sure, ladies, that you're taking some time for yourself to get some joy, because you are 100% responsible for your own happiness. And sometimes we get into a weird place where we're depending on our husbands and expecting them to make us happy. And it's too much. It's too much for them to carry. We need to make ourselves happy. And guess what? Our whole family benefits from that. We are influential in the home, right? We set the tone. That's why they say if mama ain't happy, nobody
happy.
Yeah.
But we need to come. We need to bring the joy. We need to bring the energy. And the only way we can do that is if we put our own oxygen mask on first, right? So what are the things that you enjoy, and how can you plug them into your everyday life? And like I said, it doesn't have to be a 2-hour thing. It could be a 5-minute thing. But make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you are at your best when you go to take care of your husband and your family.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good.
That's a great reminder. I'm just thinking, like, whatever this, I have not done well with that this summer. But I mean, we are at church. We just had a sermon on like taking the Sabbath and what that actually looks like, and making not like practical, like it's not just don't work and don't show up, like, but it is that, like, even Jesus went to go and spend time with his Father. He walked away from the crowds. He was in the quiet. He just took the time to renew and refresh. And what does that look like in your daily? And it doesn't, it doesn't have to be a sundown to sunset thing or sunrise thing. Or sundown to sundown. Okay, that's a thing. Okay, yeah. And so it's just a matter of just finding those moments of Sabbath of, okay, God, like, this is where I just set myself before you. And it's just, you're my source of joy. You're my source of, but the reminder of that our husbands, because I remember in the early days of my marriage is that I would take on the emotions of my husband, as far as that if he was frustrated at work, and it could be have nothing to do with me, I would personally take it on myself. Oh, I'm doing something wrong. What can I, And so, I mean, even in the small habits, like I will ask, like, if I can tell, he's stressed out or anxious or something, like that. You can tell when your husband is not in the right headspace. I just go, is this me related, or is this work related, or is this something else related? And then he can go, no, I'm just thinking about stuff with work, because their brains are always going. Always going. And I would think it was a personal attack on, I would take it personal. Like, this has nothing to do with me. I'm just going to let this go.
Yes.
And instead of taking everything personally, that was such a game changer for us when I realized, every mood it's not because I didn't do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so common. You are not alone. And we talk about staying on our own paper, and staying on my paper means that I don't even try to manage his moods or his reactions or his words or his activities or his free time or any of those things, because control is a repellent, right? Yeah. And
so scheduling can we call them play dates for your husband? Oh, he needs to go hang out with friends. Trying to do that is because I've done that. Like I haven't, like, you need to go play golf with your guy buddies, or you need to have a guys night. And I have literally planned it with other wives for their husbands. So I'm like, oh my God. So that you would say that's a no. That's
not could be seen as controlling. It could.
Okay, good. All right. Just for other wives out there, do not schedule play dates for your husbands.
Hilarious.
I do think though, in light of it, sometimes they just need that push to just stop working or to just stop being so in this zone and like just get back to that zone.
You can suggest it.
Yes.
But I think part of respect is realizing that we have married these smart, capable, grown men who really can't handle their lives and treating them like that rather than micromanaging and, and so, one of the repellents that I was famous for in the bad old days was that my husband runs a roofing business. I don't know anything about roofing, but I can be a know-it-all at times. So he would come home from work and start telling me about the day, right? And I mean, I had opinions about everything. Well, you should do this. Well, you should try that. Well, you should have said this. Why did you do that? All of these opinions and criticisms and things like that. I didn't recognize them as that. And his conversation went down and down and down. Now, the women who come to me, one of their main things is, I want him to talk to me more. Mm-hmm. Well, we've got to turn off all the opinions and everything and just be an active listener. So now I use a 3-word cheat phrase, and it's, I hear you. I'm not agreeing. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just witnessing his thoughts and feelings. And I can get that man to talk forever now because he knows he's safe with me. I'm not going to criticize and say, why'd you do that? And give him that look. You're an idiot,
Yeah.
That I used to give him all the time. And I don't have opinions as if I'm the, smartest person in the world. I just listen and go, oh, I hear you. And then at the end of it all, usually what I end up saying is, wow, that sounds really tough, but I know that you'll handle it. You've been running this business successfully for 25 years. I'm not worried. And standing behind him like, you've got this. You're smart, you're capable, you've got this.
That's good. Yeah.
My weak zone, as you were just talking about that, it's so funny that it's just like you said at the very beginning, the impact of what your words are doing when you don't know it. So now that we have teenagers, it's kind of funny sometimes. They're hilarious. They can go back and forth. My husband is very sarcastic, like always picking on all of us, And last night we had this moment where I don't even remember what it was about. He and I were literally playing cards and our kids were sitting there and we're just like all hanging out. And part of my oldest said something and I jumped on the bandwagon and we were picking on him. And I was like, oh, you can make fun of everybody else, but we can't make fun of you. And it shut him down so fast. And it wasn't, and he even said, he goes, so now you're making me look like the bad guy? I'm like, wait, no, that's it. Oh, I wasn't doing that. But I was playing along and it wasn't a spot for me to really jump into. And I do that way too much. I join with the kids on picking on him when it's like their thing. Yeah. And I need to just not, So it's funny. I figured that out last night and I was like, maybe I do need to stop doing
that's beautiful. Awareness is the first step, right? We have to become aware.
And because he said, well, you're making me look like the bad guy. And I was like, oh, I'm not trying to do that. And it really wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah. I can relate to this so much. And I appreciate your conversation because I need to be more aware because you've been together for so long. You feel you can say stuff. And it is the joke about the thermostat. Okay, maybe I am really making them feel. It's usually we go back and forth about it because it's, the cost of AC right now and all the things. But I'm like, I literally am like, I I'm different than him. He can sweat like no problem. I can't sweat unless I'm like in a sauna for an hour. Like I'm just not a sweater person. So when I get hot, I'm hot, because I can't release it. My body doesn't sweat, so I can't cool down. And so it's like, that's a thing. And so I do need to be like more, I really do wish it was cooler in here. Like I do need to be more like sweet about it. And then maybe he would respond.
Yeah, we definitely get into habits. And I say this and husband says that. And I say this and husband says that, right? We call it the dance.
Yep.
And so somebody's got to change the dance. Mm-hmm. And so when we first start practicing these skills, our husbands can be a little thrown off guard and maybe even a little suspicious. Hey, what's happening? This isn't the usual dance, right? Mm-hmm. And it takes them a while to get used to the new way and be like, oh, she really is like making changes. Oh, wow, this is fun. And start to trust it. Yeah. So, but it's so fun to change up the dance after being married for so many years and start into some healthier and more fun, right? Rather than the old worn out ways that just are habitual, right? We're not, like you said, we haven't thought about it. We've just, we've just reacted. And I want to encourage us to take a pause and respond intentionally with what we're wanting to create. So I tell my clients, you're standing at a fork in the road when this situation comes up. And you need to think of your options and where they're going to ultimately lead, right? Because you've told me that you want to create a playful, fun, passionate, connected marriage, okay? And there's a way. But you also have your natural flesh response that wants to snap off and give him a piece of your mind, right? We all have that. But where that is going to take you to the same old place where you've been going. Right? So let's experiment with a new way and get to the new, that playful, fun, connected marriage that we all want.
Yeah.
My message is we as women can get there. We can create that. So my tagline that I love is get the marriage you always dreamed of with the man you already have.
Yeah.
Right? Because the lie is out there. The enemy is out there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You can have the marriage you've dreamed of, but it's just not with this guy. You need this other guy. Guys, right? We're all flawed.
Yeah. And it's, it's the old joke, of the person that's been married 5-6 times. And you just go, at what point do you realize the problem might be you? I mean, just like the
problem is all of us.
The problem is all of us, but it's like, as soon as we become responsible for ourselves, again, the account, like I can control me. Yes. And again, it comes back to me and God can work through me and my relationship with God. It goes my relationship with God, then my relationship with my husband. Then let's remember the children are down here. I think that too is definitely a lie that from the pit of hell, that our children are the center of our world. Like that this is, everything revolves around them. And if you ask my girls, we go, what's the hierarchy in this house? Oh, God, mom and dad, and y'all are down here because y'all are going to leave the house and we are going to stay together until death do us part. And so that's there for a good time period. Seeing the trends like you experienced as a high school senior is let's keep it together until the kids get out of the house. Let's just stay together for the kids and then it'll be easier. No, it's never easier. Like it's almost more shocking for the kids when they're older because then they're like, wait, what? You've been married for 20 years and now it's over? You've invested 20 years and now you're done? That's a real thing. I mean, your story of being affected by that, of just, I'm never getting married. And it wasn't because you saw somebody just short term get married. And then, no, it was they invested 20 years of their life. And then it was like, we're done. I mean, so I pray, and I would love to encourage our listeners that, yes, there are biblical reasons for divorce. There are definitely justifications. However, Jesus can resurrect anything.
Amen.
I mean, from the dust. Nothing is never over until actually it's never over. How about that? Until we reach the other side. How about this? Until we reach eternity.
Yeah.
Because I do find we are in an instant gratification world. And we do find, the lie is, well, I can be happy. I don't have the butterflies anymore with this guy. So, but I can, this looks real fun. Being loved on and love bombed and all of the things. This would totally work. That's what I need. I need just the romance again. But God never promises us that. He promises us that. And it's just sometimes, it's going, okay, I can be satisfied in this space because all I need is God. All I need is God. My happiness does not depend on my husband. My husband can be like, but I am in this covenant with this man until death do us part. And God can provide all my needs, whether or not my husband is. And I think, and I know I think it was President Reagan. Somehow I always bring politics into all of our episodes. I think it was President Reagan. He's the one that started the no-fault divorce. Towards the end of his life, he said that is one of the biggest mistakes he ever made with the no-fault divorce. It just made the process that much easier. And he goes, that is one of the things that I regret the most. And it was just because you could just say, well, we just couldn't make it work. And so you could call it a no-fault divorce. I do think that has been a radical shift in our culture, that the enemy won and just saying, no, you can't have a happy life. It's just not like the one you have. Yeah. Sorry. Interesting. It's my own personal.
It's the thing. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it.
Yeah.
And I want to help women water the marriage they have, because I truly believe that we can get back to that girl and that boy that fell in love and started dating. We're still here, right?
Yeah.
We just got married underneath the stuff, and we need to be brought back to life and brought back out, because it really is possible. And I see it happen all the time. One of my greatest sources of hope was going through my year-long coach training with 12 other women from all over the U.S. and even from a few other countries, women in different cultures and different religions and different just unique situations and circumstances, right? Married 2 years, married 50 years, okay? All the way. And watching each one of those marriages transform over the year that we were together. All of them. And so I just know this isn't like a system that worked for me. These are principles that agree with the Bible and that work for women. Like, we have some commonalities, ladies. Yeah. The pitfalls we fall into are common, right?
Yeah, right.
And so, I have great hope. And some of the women who come to me have lost their hope. And I say, you can borrow mine.
Yes, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And again, why we're doing the series is you are not alone.
Yeah.
You are not alone in trying to be the one that's holding your marriage together. Yeah. Or you're not alone in the, like you said, and all those pitfalls, like we start to feel isolated.
Yeah.
We start to feel, this is, and social media only makes it worse because everybody's showing
it's
the highlight reel.
Yeah. But it's one of those that it's, they got a date night or they got to go do that. Why don't I get to do that? And well, what are you doing? Sitting there scrolling and probably not talking to your spouse, like
who's sitting across the couch from you?
Yeah.
Right. It's funny. The other day I have a client who's a newlywed, and she really just wants to get started on the right foot, which I love. She was saying to me the other day that, he used to be so romantic when we were dating, and he surprised me and he did this and he did that. And I said, well, what would an ideal, romantic date look like for you? So she tells me all about it. And I said, awesome. That's your homework. I want you to create that for you and your husband. She's, what? Me? Like, yeah, why not you? Right? Yeah. You are the one who knows exactly what you want. Why what you want him to read your mind?
They can't do that.
You go create it. And so women will tell me, oh, I wish he brought me flowers. I say, girl, go get you some flowers, right? Create your own happiness. And you know what's going to happen? He's going to come home and go, where'd these come from? And you're going to say, I wanted some fresh flowers, and so I got them. And guess what? Now he knows, fresh flowers make her happy. Our husbands so want us to be happy, right? That's how they measure their success. When you're happy, they feel, I'm a good man, I'm a good husband, my wife is happy. When we're miserable, they feel like a failure. And like we said before, they throw in the towel because I guess I'm just not good at this. So we've got to be pleasable and show them how they can make us happy. I would love to have a clean car. He goes and cleans the car. Everybody's happy. He feels like a hero. And I've got a clean car. Yeah. A happy place, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
so good.
So good.
Yes.
Okay. So tell our listeners how they can contact you, follow you, get information about your coaching and all the ways.
Yeah. So my business is called Relationships with a Map. So they can find me online at relationshipswithamap.com. But a great way just to get to know me and see the kind of things I'm teaching and find out if we might be a match for coaching relationship is through my private Facebook group. It's called Save My Marriage, Relationships with a Map. And that way they can just start to get some of the teaching and some of the encouragement and things like that and see, because, you want to have a good match with your coach. But I do free one-on-one discovery calls so that we can find out like what's happening right now in your relationship and where do you want to go with it? And how can I help you get further faster, right?
Yeah.
Because any goal that we have, if we have a coach, somebody who's running alongside us to help us and to keep us accountable and to keep us encouraged, right? When we start to feel like, we can get there further faster. So that's my goal. And I not only do one-on-one coaching, but I do have a group program that's super helpful because you get to be surrounded by a community of women who are all practicing these skills and trying to make their marriage great again. And you get to hear the way each one of them is implementing the skills. And it kind of wakes you up. Oh, maybe I could do that, right?
Yeah.
So it's to have that support.
And
Absolutely.
And I know you've got a great freebie on your website, right? Tell us what that is so our listeners can go find that right away.
Yeah, it's called The 5 Mistakes Wives Make When They're Trying to Get Their Husband's Attention, Affection, and something else. Attention, affection, and...
Hold on.
We'll do this again.
Because she's got it.
Nothing. Yeah.
Tracy just texted it to me.
That's trying to get their man's attention and affection.
Okay, there
Why
you go.
you're not getting the consideration you...
Yeah. That's a great place to start with maybe 5 things that you might be doing that are actually sabotaging what you really want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And just try that out and then go from there. That is just...
That's what we always say. Just experiment. You can always go back to the old way of doing things. It's true.
Right?
It's true. Yeah.
Maybe. Yes, try something new.
Awesome.
Yes. Well, we appreciate you, Cristie, your time and just all the work that you're doing to help women in marriages and relationships. Because like you said, it doesn't just stop at your marriage.
Yes. And the hope that you bring for women, because marriage is it is one of the institutions that God created.
Yeah.
And it is important and it does deserve intentionality and it does deserve, our husbands do deserve women who are working on it, and they deserve, and we deserve men who are providing for us and for our families and doing it's just thank you so much for the showing the importance of marriage and that. And just, that means a lot to me.
It's so important. Thank you all so much for having me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, housewives, until next time.
Bye.
Whether we made you laugh or cry today, we pray you feel appreciated, bolder and braver than yesterday, stronger and more faithful for tomorrow, and living in who you were made to be today.
Join our online community on Facebook, link in the show notes. And be sure to review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy listening. Until next time, housewives, we give you permission to walk confidently, free, and to be intentional in your slippers or stilettos.